We would now like to welcome PayPal President and CEO, Dan Schulman.
Well, it streamed down the hall and I was so hard pressed. I called the woman that I love the best. I finally got my baby.
Good morning. I feel like when I come out on the stage and Elvis is playing that I ought to swivel my hips inappropriately, but I see the horrified looks on the PayPal PR people, so I'm not going to go do that. You're welcome. I want to start off by thanking the organizers of Money 2020, Jonathan and Neil, all the others who put together this program. I was a keynote speaker 2 years ago, and when I was on stage, I could actually see the back of the hallway. Now we can no longer see the back of the room, and it seems to me next year, if this conference keeps moving from strength to strength, we'll need to rent out something like Yankee Stadium to hold everybody. The caliber of people here are amazing. It's great to see so many colleagues and friends. And so thank you to the organizers of Money 2020. It's really an honor to be here. For those of you who know me, a little over a year ago, I was at American Express, and while I was there, I looked at a lot of the emerging companies in the fintech space, and I always looked at PayPal with a lot of envy. And when the PayPal board, or the eBay board at that time, approached me to run an independent PayPal, I leapt at the opportunity. Because from my position at American Express, it seemed to me that PayPal was clearly a leader in digital and mobile payments throughout the world. But that wasn't always the case. In fact, back in 1998, when PayPal started with a couple of people on this motley crew over here, they had a very bold vision to rethink how currency could be moved across the world. And of course, like any bold vision, they were met with a series of critics. Any bold idea, any new idea, and there's so many of us in the audience that are thinking about new ideas and bold ideas, needs to understand that we will be assailed by various critics out there saying that that idea, the boldness of that idea, the fact that it's not an extrapolation from the past, but it's a reimagining of what could be, actually creates lots of critics. And I'd like to play a quick video of a very young Elon and Peter Thiel talking about PayPal. So if we could run that video, that'd be great.
So this is an ATM. And what we're going to do is transform the traditional banking industry.
When we started PayPal, the initial product was a infrared beaming device on Palm Pilots for sending money. It was voted one of the 10 worst business ideas in 1999, but the team was good. We were able to change and do something different. I think if you get hung up on failure, and if you think you don't have another chance, that's when you really don't.
So I take away two things from that video. One, Elon looks exactly the same as he did then. And two, you've got to drive through skeptics and critics, because from one of those 10 worst ideas in 1998 comes the PayPal of today. Since then, PayPal has processed over 18 billion transactions through our platform. By the way, we did 4 billion last year alone. It's processed over $1 trillion of value since 1998. Last year, we did over $250 billion processed through our platform. We have some 170 million customers, over 10 million merchants across 203 countries around the world. And so that idea has really turned into a world leader in digital and mobile payments. But in July, we started a new chapter for PayPal. We listed on the NASDAQ, became a public company again. Here I am, setting a very bad role model example as a leader, drinking with my employees at 9 a.m. in the morning. That was a very fun day, by the way. And tomorrow, we actually have our first earnings call as an independent public company. But the great thing that happened when we separated from eBay was that it gave us a tremendous amount of focus. There is so much change going on in the digital payments arena. You see them from all the announcements. Every single day, there's another announcement. It's hard to keep track of all of them. But what allowed us to do, my team and myself, is to step back and really think about what did we want to stand for in the digital and mobile payments world? What was our mission? What was our vision going forward? And as we thought about it, we thought back to what Peter and Elon and others in the PayPal original founders thought about, which was how do you make a real difference in the world? How can we take our assets? How can we partner with people across the ecosystem to truly make a difference in customers' lives? Because I think our industry is on the cusp of something historic. I believe that we can take basic financial transactions for consumers and make them faster, easier, simpler, more secure, and importantly, less expensive. And you may think, well, that seems to be a relatively easy thing to do, but it isn't, and we don't do a good job at it. Because the truth of the matter is across the world, billions upon billions of humans are poorly served by our industry. The basic transactions that you and I take for granted, like cashing a check or paying a bill, sending money to a loved one, are almost always, for those outside the system, very time-consuming and very expensive. You know, there's a saying, and some of you have heard me say this before, but there's a saying that it's expensive to be poor. And unfortunately, that applies to the financial services industry as well. And that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because we have solutions grounded in technology that should make that saying obsolete. We have it within our ability as an industry to truly democratize money. You know, I'd submit that the credo for our entire ecosystem should be that managing and moving money should be a right for all citizens, not a privilege for the affluent. And so I think all of us have a chance to rethink and reimagine what financial services could be in a world of mobile and software. That's a fundamentally different world that we live in right now. And we need to think about what could be and not be linked to what was going forward. And when I say all of us, I mean all of us, not just those of us in this room, but governments, regulators, the private and public sectors coming together, NGOs, academia. We all need to reimagine what financial services could be. Because the truth of the matter is, I think because of the myriad of transactions, technologies we talk about, we forget one basic truth, and that is that money is incredibly personal. For so many people around the world, money is the fuel that drives the dreams and ambitions of fathers and mothers. It drives the ambitions of entrepreneurs. It drives the ambitions of small and large merchants as they think about how they can get closer to their customers. Honestly, money is the fuel that fires the best aspirations amongst all of us. And I think that the revolution in financial services is not about tapping a phone versus swiping a card. It is much more profound than that. Too frequently, all of us, including those of us at PayPal, we celebrate technology for technology's sake. We celebrate technological advancements. The press latch on to technological announcements. And don't get me wrong, I love technology. At our heart, PayPal is a software and an engineering company. But technology is just a means. It is not the end by any stretch of the imagination. Outside of this room, go out into the streets of Las Vegas, San Francisco, New York, Dallas, London, Lisbon, Mumbai, Tokyo, and go out and ask somebody on the street, hey, what do you think about tokenization? How are you feeling about host card emulation? Is that doing it for you? What do you think about the blockchain? How's that working for you? Seriously, people don't care about our technological announcements. They just seriously, they really don't. What they care about are the simple financial transactions that drive their everyday life. You know, we need to kind of reimagine simple financial transactions because, you know, for the real world, those transactions represent years sometimes of struggling and strife for them. It's the first time that they pay their rent check. It's the first time that they pay for their kids' tuition somewhere. It's the first time that they get a paycheck, that they pay their rent. So for so many folks, money is fraught with anxiety and risk. And what do most people look to the financial system for? They want to look to all of us and trust us. It's as simple as that. Trust is foundational. And when we talk about trust, what do they really want from us? Like when they call us, they want to be respected, no matter who they are, no matter how much money they have or how little money they have. They want to be treated like human beings, not like a 3-digit FICO score. You know, I hear all the time from lots of different people who say that the financial services industry is always there when we don't need you and not there when we do need you. You know, 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. In our country, one of the most affluent countries in the world, 60% live paycheck to paycheck. And when they get into trouble, they have to turn to alternative means because, you know, it's not that their expenses are higher than their revenues, it's that they have cash flow issues. And they want to be able to turn to us to be able to get through not just the good parts of their life, but the more difficult parts of their life. And I think that we need to reimagine the costs that it takes for all of us to process a basic financial consumer transaction. I mean, we live in a world where there's already massive distribution. There are over 5 billion mobile phones in the hands of consumers. We live in a world where software is driving everything for us. Theoretically, as software scales, the unit cost of that software drops down dramatically. We should be able to serve customers in a much more cost-effective way. Think about virtual as opposed to physical bank branches going forward. The difference in cost structure is enormous. In the underserved in the United States, 10% of their disposable income, the money they work so hard to get, is spent on unnecessary fees and interest. That's the same amount of money that they spend on food. Every transaction that somebody who's outside of our system does with their money costs them money. And that's just not fair. In fact, it's also economically counterproductive for all of us. There are so many studies that show in the world today, if people have access to the financial system, that they create more businesses. And when they create more businesses, they drive economic growth. When they have access to the financial service, more people send their sons and daughters to school to get an education. And there's one study after another that says the more education our children have, the more economic prosperity that is propagated throughout the world. We can drive a reduction in income inequality. Financial services is primed for technological transformation. We really are. And I'll just give you one example, a PayPal example. You know, we help 300,000 small businesses in India export their goods and services globally. In fact, 1/3 of all global e-commerce coming out of India to consumers is done through the PayPal platform. That platform that makes it easy for them to do exporting to consumers across the world is so easy and simple, and yet it makes a giant difference to each of those small merchants going forward. Today, we're announcing that PayPal Working Capital has originated more than $1 billion of loans to over 60,000 small merchants throughout the US, Australia, and the UK. I'm really proud of this because it is our small attempt to try to democratize lending to small businesses. And there are other companies who are trying to do this where we're not looking at credit scores, but we're looking at actual history with a business to extend them loans. Small businesses are the lifeblood of communities across the country. They hire more people, they drive economic prosperity, but unfortunately, loans to small businesses are less today than they were before the beginning of the Great Recession. And one fact that I'm particularly proud of is that in the 3% of counties that have had more than 10 banks close branches, 25% of PayPal Working Capital loans have originated. That's technology and a solution based on technology driving real needs-based solutions to merchants. And I'd like to play a video right now showing a merchant who received a PayPal Working Capital loan just to see how impactful these things can be. So can we play that next video, please?
I love to create. I love to make things, and wood is at the core of my creative process. It reminds us about the fragility of life. It reminds us that, we don't have forever. My name is Gustav Reyes. I live in Chicago, Illinois. I'm a woodworker artist, and I own Simply Wood Rings. Simply Wood Rings is an eco-friendly wooden wedding ring company. We want to give the world an alternative to what traditional wedding rings are with salvaged wooden material. Before PayPal Working Capital, the website was kind of having difficulty and I needed to kind of update it. I didn't have an option. I mean, I tried to buy a shop, did all the paperwork, and then just was denied. A lot of it has to do with your credit. but my credit wasn't bad, but it's this idea that that business doesn't know me. It doesn't know that I have, thousands and thousands of customers out there that we connect with. And with PayPal and PayPal Working Capital, it made me feel comfortable that, their credit wasn't like the only determining factor. I knew from the moment that I got approved, they knew that I had customers. They knew the sales that I did. And that's like a validation of how we can continue to grow. Paying PayPal Working Capital from just the daily sales keeps the stress away. If you don't make a sale that day, you don't need to pay. If you do well, you pay quicker. So it's this idea that if you're doing better, you're going to pay that loan off faster. I've received 2 PayPal Working Capital loans so far. The first was the one that allowed us to do a website redevelopment, and it allowed us to kind of redesign the website for mobile devices and to better optimize SEO. And the second loan was more kind of push new ideas and new products. From that point on, it changed because the website's doing great. We're doing great. We've been growing every month since, and every month has been the best month that we've had. It gave us the freedom to kind of think again and grow again and start like a fresh company. The PayPal Working Capital has kind of given us new life. I get a little emotional about it, but even that is something that I never even thought was possible.
So we showed this video. Thank you. We showed this video at one of the monthly operational reviews that I did, and across the conference room, we all looked at each other and said, this is why we do what we do. I believe fundamentally that business can be a driving force for social change. In fact, we should be the force that drives good in the world. I mean, who are we looking towards if it's not ourselves? I don't think we can look to governments to drive change. I think we need to look at ourselves to make this happen. And by the way, I don't think that doing good in the world is counter to being a great global corporate capitalist type of company. There's so much opportunity in the world if we reimagine how we provide financial services to the billions of people that are still waiting for it. I think actually it's counterproductive to shareholder value if we don't concentrate on it. Every day, each of us get up and we go to work. Some of us spend 8 hours, most of us spend 10, 12, 14 hours a day at work. Wouldn't it be great if all that time we spent was making a real difference in the world? If we could look at our kids, at our parents, at our family members, at our friends, and said what we did at this time in our history as an industry made a real difference in the world. And that's why I'm pushing everyone at PayPal so hard to think about how do we reimagine who we are as a company, that we are much more than a button on a website, that we want a much more relationship-oriented process with our consumers, where we interact with them daily, not on a monthly basis, that we help them manage and move their money, that we help merchants think about using mobile across online, in-app, and in-store so they can get closer to their customers and provide more value. I think all of this is something that all of us can agree on, and I hope that we can start to come together. We at PayPal are very ready to partner, to help in any way we can, to help all of us lead this forward, because making a difference, I think, really matters, and hopefully we can all agree on that. Thank you very much.
Money, money. Гроші, гроші.